A lot of millennials are realizing this. When you arrive at six figures, it's not what we thought of back in the 90s, early 2000s growing up. 100K was it. Well, I remember talking to the guidance counselor, talking to friends. We're gonna make six figures one day. We're gonna have it all. We're gonna do it. And then you arrive at six figures in 2023. And if you live in the city, you realize it is just enough to get by. And when you think about having kids, this is what me and my wife are thinking about. We're 35 and 36 years old. So if we want to have kids, we got to get after this pretty soon. But she has a great job. I have a great job. We both work 60 hours a week with our side hustles included. And I make six figures. But if my wife were to quit her job and we had a kid and stayed home, I wouldn't be able to afford the kid, our life, and the house. So we're having to make these decisions. But then we think, well, if my wife keeps working, takes a little time off, we'll plan for that. But then if we're going to have daycare, I'm seeing some of the daycare prices I would have never imagined, let alone thinking of the crib and the monitor and all this kind of stuff. But I think a lot of millennials are probably having the same conversation me and my wife are having, where it's kind of sad to have to decide if we're on a roll. We're doing great for our savings, investing in career. We want to bring a kid along, but it's like, we're like, are we going to be able to do it all?
Wow, isn't it a shame that we actually have to consider whether or not we want to have a child because of the financial repercussions of it all? That is insane. As we can see from this example, clearly he makes six figures, and his wife apparently has a good job too. Yet still, a child would be a financial burden just because everything is so inflated and so expensive in today's world. On this six-figure salary, in the past, you could be able to get a house and handle all of your living expenses, take care of your family, and it was no problem. But today, even him combining it with his wife, I mean, there's not enough. It's not enough to get by once you talk about adding a child into the mix. And let's not forget what he said. They both have to work 60 hours a week, both of them. I just can't help but feel some type of way about this because I feel like everybody should have an opportunity to bring a child into this world. That is one of the most beautiful things about life is having is procreating and raising your child. But now that's hindering so many people. A lot of people don't even want to have kids anymore in today's world simply because of the financial burden that would be on them and their significant other. 300K is the new 100K. And then right underneath of it, somebody also commented 250K is the new 100K. Has it really gotten to that point, y'all? 100K is not what it used to be, but employers refuse to keep up with the inflation. This person said they make six figures and live paycheck to paycheck because of Denver rent. I remember growing up and my dad telling me $50,000 a year was an awesome salary. Yeah, I remember those days. Don't think they're coming back. See Cleaver says, my boyfriend just crossed six figures and we don't even live in the most expensive place in the country. We still can't afford a house. Yep. Not enough. Nowhere near enough to get a house.
This is why people that are making $100,000 a year feel like they're living paycheck to paycheck. First off, $100,000 is about $8,333 a month. But let's say that they're putting about 10% into their 401k. That would bring it down to about $7,500 if they're using a traditional IRA. And let's say they pay 25% in taxes on top of that. That's going to bring it out to $5,625 a month. In this example, we'll say that their deductions, so that's things like health and dental, comes out to $300 a month. And so after all is said and done, they're left with $5,325 a month. And here's the thing, most people are spending about 30% on rent. Well, let's say they don't do that. Let's say they spend 25%. Almost tricked myself. That's about $2,080 a month that they're spending on rent. Man, my brain is not working this morning. And so after rent, that means that they now are left with $3,245 a month. And this is where it all starts to go downhill because the average American spends $1,500 a month on just junk. And so that brings it down to about $1,745 a month that they're left with. And then the average American is spending about $1,200 a month on debt. So that means that they're left with $545 a month. And this $545 has to cover their groceries, gas for their car, utilities, and any other necessities. And so that begs the question, are people really struggling if they're making $100,000? Or as a whole, are Americans just struggling to manage their finances?
Wow, that is almost fascinating seeing it broken down like that and actual real world examples of how quickly that money can just diminish. Now, a few things about this. He said why people who make 100,000 feel like they're living paycheck to paycheck. A lot of cases, they aren't necessarily living paycheck to paycheck, but they're kind of feeling that way. For example, the junk category, what did he say, $1,500 or $1,700 or something like that? That does seem quite high for junk, but at the same time, a lot of people living on a six-figure salary, I mean, why wouldn't they spend $1,500 on miscellaneous items, right? You got to think about the world we live in, the world of consumerism, the world of online shopping and Amazon. It's people like to splurge. That's an area, obviously, some people might not be putting as much into their 401k, and I guess the possibility of the rent being cheaper as well. But in his example, he said $2,000, and I feel like most people who make $100,000 are probably paying $2,000 or more, simply because there's probably some form of lifestyle inflation. So once they started making more money, they started buying more expensive things, if that makes sense. Anyways, they're just, once again, fascinating seeing how like your money can just melt like that easily. See, Salty Sailor said $2,000 for rent. Yeah, back in 2016, a 1-bedroom apartment is $2,600 in Southern Florida. Yeah, see, exactly what I said. Like, what did I say? Lifestyle inflation is real. What did I say? Junk spending equals my kids. Yeah, see, I'm assuming a lot of junk spending definitely does go into kids, but he didn't even factor kids into this example. So for his example, I'm assuming this is just for a single person, right? No significant other and no child. So again, the numbers can be even worse. You can have even less money if you factor those things into his equation. $300 a month for health and dental? I wish. So yeah, that's the thing. Myself and even some of these comments are kind of talking about, oh, you might not spend $1,500 on junk. But the thing is, he definitely played it safe in some areas. Like instead of going 30% for the rent, he went 25%. $300 a month for health and dental, that's pretty low, right? So he definitely could have done this even more in favor of like not having a lot of money after $100,000. I think it's pretty fair. I think it's even. In expensive areas like New York City, $100,000 is barely even enough to get by. Wow, so $100,000 is like your baseline. If you live in New York City, like you better have $100,000. Crazy. And for all the people out there, myself included, still questioning the $1,500 a month on junk, Digital Candy just commented, I spend at least $3,000 a month on junk, though I make $300,000 a year. But might I add, still feels poor. Oh my gosh, I don't even know how to feel about this. I really don't.
Hey, yo, man, I signed for 100K. I had signed for 100K, nigga. I went dead broke, man.
That's the thing. Okay, explain this to me.
No, that's real.
No, explain to me
100K ain't no money. I'm a street got 5 first-degree felonies, lawyer fees, a car. A nigga ain't never had none. You got, let's say, roughly 30,000 to play with. And you a young ain't never had. Man, that money gonna be gone by next week. Shooting dice, drugging and thugging. It's just life, bro. Man, I ain't gonna sit here and stunt to you.
This stuck out of the page and just stood out from the rest of the videos for me because in all of those other ones, they were talking about making a $100,000 salary. That was $100,000 over an entire year. This is somebody in the entertainment industry who signed for $100,000 and received that up front. A lump sum, $100,000. And even in those circumstances, that money was still gone. Discipline and financial literacy, yep. None of that is an excuse. I agree. Don't know how to put that money up, shaking my head. Yeah, I mean, I agree with these for the most part. Like, you at some point, you got to look and realize, like, I have a lot of money. I have to do something with this besides just spend it. I got to make this money make more money. So, yeah, I agree. I mean, it sucks, his situation, but at the end of the day, like they said, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. Somebody right here added, you have taxes too, plus management fees, helping your family. You have to keep up your rapper appearance. Yeah, there's a lot more that goes into it too that he definitely didn't mention or break down or get into. You know, he kind of talked about the things that were like shining a negative light on him rather than all of the things that actually come along with the entertainment aspect of doing this job. So yeah, once again, $100,000. Like usually when I hear about a rapper signing for a deal, it's quite a bit more than 100K because of all of those things like the taxes, management fees, et cetera, appearance, studio time, all of that's factored into that deal. So yeah, $100,000 like really probably wouldn't stretch in a situation like this. Let me ask your opinion, brother. Oh, did you hear my hip crack? $100,000, according to a lot of people, $100,000 a year, it's not that much anymore. Especially if you have a kid, first off, it's over. It's done. But depending on what city you live in, it's done. Are you putting money into?
Are you recording?
Did you make that?
I just switched in the first shot.
Okay.
Keep that in the video.
I'll keep that in there. You guys have to like the video now because he made that. Do I shoot it once? No, I'm scared of it.
I switched it.
Yeah. We're gonna leave it at that.
It's crazy because all these jobs pay the same shit.
The same shit, yeah. Cost of living is going up, but the average salaries and minimum wages are not.
Making $100K a year, even if you're in your early 20s, is really not a lot of money. Here's why. At that level, money will still dictate most of your decisions. $100K a year is a good start, but it's not even close to what you actually need to experience true freedom. The other day, I added up all of my expenses, and I'm spending anywhere from $10 to $12K a month.
You spending $12,000 a month at 22 years old? What do you do for a job? Hire me, please.
When are we finally accepting that 100K is low income in the United States? I remember when I was younger, I would always brag and say, by 27, I'm going to be making six figures and I'm going to be rich. Well, I'm in my late 20s and I'm making six figures and I'm not seeing riches yet. I personally live in the Bay Area, and I know last year this whole thing came out where if you're making less than 100 grand, you are low income in the Bay Area. So I thought to myself, okay, this must be just singular to like California. But I then read this article recently where it's a list of cities where 100 grand is considered low income. And this is all over the US. I mean, a lot of these are focused on the West Coast, but there are parts all over the US where this is fact. And then you have all these like different articles coming out where people are saying 100 grand is not enough. Americans are struggling, and this six-figure idea of becoming a millionaire and rich just doesn't exist anymore. 100 grand just doesn't cut it, and that's actually quite frightening. Do you feel like 100 grand is enough for you to live your life and be happy, or do you feel like you need more? Personally, for me, especially where I live, I think I need more.
To answer your question, I for sure can survive, but would I like more than 100K? I mean, wouldn't anybody, right? Stuff is not cheap these days. She showed up with her own testimony. She brought out the articles and the statistics to back it up too. I'm sold, especially if you're in a major city. Basically, these are facts. Yeah, it seems like everyone's pretty much in agreement here. Midwest here with six figures, and I feel like I am low income. Good Lord. Look, at the end of the day, $100,000 is plenty to get by, especially if the area you live in is not extremely high with the cost of living. If you're debt free, $100,000 is plenty. No children. I mean, the list goes on. Roommates, etc., etc. You get the point. But that does not change the fact that it definitely does not stretch like it used to. And in certain areas, in certain situations and circumstances, like I said, if you have children, if you have debt, that $100,000 can really feel like $40,000 in no time. So let me know your thoughts and opinions on this down below in the comments. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this and your opinions. Somebody start the conversation, please. And if you enjoy this type of content, definitely make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video. And if you want to see more videos like this, if you enjoyed this, check out this video right here. If you like this, you will like this as well. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.